Hello, my name is Dustin Lindbergh, the Blind Minnesotan, and I'm here to tell you that I'm a visually impaired man who lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And if you're like me, who's blind or visually impaired, Minnesota is a good place for you to live because you can actually get really good and nice housing if you're just living off Social Security, or if you want to live off Social Security and work part-time. Because a lot of people in our community don't know about Minnesota, I'm here to tell you the best places for blind and visually impaired people to live, in my opinion, in the state of Minnesota. Number one is Maple Grove, Minnesota. Maple Grove, Minnesota, it's a suburb of Minneapolis. It's a third-ring suburb. The neighborhood is designed in the middle of the neighborhood. There's the shopping center, and then comes apartments, then comes townhomes, and then becomes the single-family homes. Maple Grove's a good spot because, one, it's safe there. Two, it has public transportation. It has the Maple Grove My Ride, that it's like a public taxi where they have an app where you can say, hey, I want to be picked up tomorrow, and this is where I want to go, and I need to be there at this time, and I get done at this place at this time, and then you schedule it to the app, and then the app will tell you like a few hours later, hey, just to let you know, we can do the pickup and drop off. This is the time we're doing it, and this is why, and and then it'll pick you up, drive you where you need to go, and it'll tell you what time it's going to pick you up and take you home. It's called Maple Grove My Ride, and it's amazing because it helps you get around Maple Grove. And then there's the Maple Grove Transit that has, like, in Maple Grove, they have express buses. So you take the Maple Grove My Ride to the Maple Grove, if you want to leave Maple Grove, to the Maple Grove Transit. And then once you get off the Maple Grove My Ride bus, you end up in this bus station. And then once you're in this bus station, you kind of, you hop on a city bus that takes you from the bus station to downtown Minneapolis. And then from downtown, then it goes from downtown Minneapolis back to the bus station. And the buses have Wi-Fi. It has like where you can connect to free. You can use you can use IRA for free at all the transit stations. So then it can help you find your bus in Maple Grove. And then so if you live in an apartment near the shops, you can walk to the shops. Or if you don't want to walk, you can have Maple Grove My Ride pick you up and drive you to the shops. The city has a hospital in the shopping mall. It has 3 grocery stores, and it's totally worth living there. They have apartments to rent. If you want to rent an apartment to try living in the area, if you're a senior and you're over 60, they have condos you can buy. There's townhomes you can buy. There's townhomes you can rent. There's single-family homes you can rent. There's single-family homes you can buy. And it's just a very nice area. The second best place in Minnesota for blind and visually impaired rent is Plymouth, because Plymouth has a similar vibes to Maple Grove. It goes freeway, shopping mall, apartments, condos, townhomes, and single-family homes. And Plymouth is pretty much like built similarly to Maple Grove. They have Plymouth Link. That's their version of Maple Grove My Ride. And then they have the Plymouth City Bus that goes from the bus station to downtown Minneapolis and then back out to Plymouth. And then the good thing is their buses have similar features as Maple Grove. It has the free Wi-Fi, the public taxi that takes you around the Plymouth. And that city's right next to Maple Grove. It's a third ring suburb of Minneapolis. And then you have St. Louis Park. That's like the third best. And St. Louis Park is a first-ring suburb of Minneapolis. And so what it does is it has a city bus that will actually, like, they have a big station where the bus starts. And then the city bus goes through every one of the neighborhoods along the major roads. And they have multiple ones that will go from, like, the center of St. Louis Park all the way through South Minneapolis, all the way to downtown Minneapolis, drop you off, and the bus will also take you back. And the good thing about St. Louis Park is the buses also run during the weekends. So then, like, you can get from, St. Louis Park to downtown Minneapolis even on the weekends. So, and then they have their own version of Maple Grove My Ride that they can taxi you around and stuff. St. Louis Park. So St. Louis Park is like, it's easy for you to get in and out of because the city bus is so good that leaves. But the negative with St. Louis Park is the town is like older than Maple Grove and Plymouth, and they have more homes for you to buy. They don't really have a lot of apartments and townhomes to rent. Most of their city is like single family neighborhoods, housing neighborhoods, and they have a few apartments, but if you find one, they're worth moving into. And the fifth one is Edina. Edina is a first-ring suburb of Minneapolis, and they're like St. Louis. They're like a St. Louis Park. They have a shopping mall, they have apartments, and then they have a city bus that goes. Their shopping mall is like an indoor one. It's called Southdale Center, and the bus that runs, that's where the bus begins, and then it goes from Southdale through all the way to downtown Minneapolis, through South Minneapolis, and their buses, run like even on the weekends, 24 hours a day, comes every half an hour, just like St. Louis Park, and that's a very like nice area if you're blind and visually impaired to live. But the negative, they have a lot of single family homes. There's not a lot of apartments and townhomes to rent. So you have to have the money to actually like buy a property there if you can't find an apartment. And then 6 comes like Robbinsdale. Robbinsdale has a lot of affordable apartments, and they have a city bus, but they don't have like a private taxi company that's owned by the city to get you around. So you have to kind of more rely on like the city bus. But the city bus runs during the weekends. It kind of runs like from Robbinsdale through North Minneapolis to downtown Minneapolis. So, so it's easy for you, if you're blind and visually impaired, to hop on a bus and the bus goes from apartment complex to apartment complex. So if you live in like Robbinsdale, you can just like hop on the bus and just go. It's very nice, but the apartments there are older, and they don't have a lot of like townhomes to rent or single family homes to rent. It's just apartments you rent and single family homes you buy. And then, but apartments out there are few, but because it's mostly a single family neighborhood. So you kind of want to like jump on that bandwagon when you see an apartment out there that you can afford. Another good side of town, another city you might want to check out is called Columbia Heights, and that's one of the metro areas of St. Paul in Minneapolis, because Columbia Heights is part of St. Paul Metro and the Minneapolis Metro. And that suburb has like a bunch of mom and pop businesses and apartments next to the mom and pop businesses, and then single family homes. So when you're in Columbia Heights and you're on the bus, the bus that goes to St. Paul or the bus that goes to Minneapolis. When you're on that bus, you be like the bus stops at all the strip malls in Columbia Heights, but be lucky the apartment buildings are next to the strip malls. So it goes major road, strip mall, apartment, single family homes. The negative about that is there's not a lot of townhomes to rent or single family homes to rent. It's mostly apartments and single family homes. So if you want that, that's not a bad idea. And they have like Cub Foods, a bunch of mom and pop grocery stores. There's a bus out take you to Walmart, the Fridley Walmart, and the other shopping malls in Fridley. So that bus is also good because it will take you to other stores and other things. You can get to St. Paul, downtown St. Paul. You can get to downtown Minneapolis. You can get to the University of Minnesota. So if like you're blind and visually impaired, Columbia Heights is a good option. Another good option is Fridley. Fridley is a small town above Columbia Heights. It's a suburb of Minneapolis and of St. Paul. And up there they have, it's built similar to Columbia Heights. There's like the major road, a strip mall, apartment building, and a bunch of single family homes. But Fridley has some townhomes you can rent and some single family homes you can rent, but not a lot because most of them they want their residents to buy the homes. But if like you can afford the apartment there, that's also a nice area to, if you're blind and visually impaired, to rent if you're living off Social Security, because it has the bus goes from Fridley through Columbia Heights to Minneapolis or St. Paul. It depends on what kind of direction you want to go. And it's a good place to live if you're blind or visually impaired. Because if you're blind and visually impaired, you want options to shops. You want options to good food. And also Fridley is connected to the North Star train station. So what the North Star train is, it's a train that goes from Big Lake, it's a city on the edge of the St. Paul suburbs. And it goes from all the way down through Fridley, through Columbia Heights, and then poop right into downtown Minneapolis. And then the train runs Monday through Friday. So if the negative about the North Star train is, it doesn't run on the weekends. So, but if enough blind and visually impaired people move out to Fridley, and enough of us start using the train will actually make money, and then they might actually expand the hours to Saturday and Sundays. Because the issue is out in the suburbs where most people have cars, they don't need to, and they're not working in downtown, they don't need to take the train on a Saturday and a Sunday. So they have it closed because not enough sighted people are taking it on a Saturday and Sunday. And then there's plenty of part-time job opportunities if you want to work in the suburbs, because a lot of the shopping malls in the suburbs are connected to the bus line. Or if they're not connected to a bus line, a lot of the suburbs in Minnesota will have like a private taxi service owned by the city, like Maple Grove My Ride, that will pick you, that if you make an appointment the day before in the app, they'll come pick you up, take you to the place, pick you up from the place, take you back home or to another place, whatever you kind of want to do. So, those are kind of the best places to kind of live in Minnesota. Living in Minneapolis and St. Paul itself is a very hard place for a lot of blind and vision impaired people. The rents in Minneapolis and St. Paul are cheap. So if you're just looking at it and like, why not move Minneapolis and St. Paul? Because the rents are cheap, like very cheaper than the suburbs. But when you go there and you're like an apartment building in the middle of a single family housing development with no bus access, you're going to find out that why it is cheap. Or you might move in Minneapolis, you might move into a neighborhood where rent's cheap, but you realize all the apartment buildings in your neighborhood have prison bars because the crime's really high in that neighborhood. And to convince people to move into that neighborhood, the landlords there made the rent cheap. So when like you're looking at apartments.com, eBay, Craigslist apartments and they say they're in Minneapolis and they're dirt cheap, you want to, before you hit yes to agree to live there, you want to go and check out the neighborhood. Because even the suburbs, if the rent seems really, really, really cheap, you want to like dirt cheap, like $400 to $600 a month, you want to say, hey, this is suspicious. Why is it $400 to $600 a month? That is kind of too cheap. Before you sign any agreements, you want to make sure that you go out there and actually see the apartment and actually see why is it $400 to $600 a month to live in a building. A good apartment in Minnesota, a good apartment should start around the $800 mark. Like a good cheap low income apartment that's actually good in a good and safe community should cost you between $800 and $1,200 a month. So $800 to $1,200 a month. That in that range should be a decent low income apartment. If you go cheaper than that, you should be suspicious. And before you sign any lease or any agreement here in Minnesota, remember to go check out the apartments, go check out the neighborhood with someone who's sighted or Uber out there or something to go check it out before you sign any like lease agreements. Because Minnesota, yes, it does get cold, but other than the cold, it is a really good place to live because you can actually live here off like your Social Security check and actually live very comfortably or more comfortably than a place like New York City, New York, San Francisco, California, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Denver, Colorado, Miami, Florida, Tampa, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Austin, Texas. You can actually live cheaper here on your Social Security than these other major cities and still have access to good jobs if you want to work part-time, access to good public transportation, and then you live in a smaller community, so then you can kind of actually know your neighbors and have people who actually care about you. This is all the reasons why blind and visually impaired people should move to the state of Minnesota. And where?